A big reason why a lot of people are depressed or angry or miserable is because they just have no sense of freedom in their life.
Your brand is either making you money or it's costing you. And Dakota Robertson went from 0 to 50 grand a month ghostwriting for the biggest names online. And now he's revealing how to grow, how to go viral, and how to turn content into cash.
No one cares who you are until you make them care. Why can Nike charge $100 for a black t-shirt and then Walmart can only charge 10? If you have brand, then you can charge more money, you can get more lead flow.
Your brand is what people think of you, before you walk in.
You can have the best content in the world, but if nobody sees it, it's gonna struggle to get traction.
Most people sit in boxes that they don't want to be in and just let it go and go.
Maybe they want some IG baddies in their deal.
Or I've got all these material things, but they've actually, not only have they not solved my problems, they've caused me even more problems.
They don't have that drive where they want to, pursue something more than themselves.
Hey, Matt here, just interrupting myself to say, can you believe that 62% of listeners to this podcast don't actually subscribe? Now, I know you like it because you listen to it, you come back and the stats are great, but 62% of you don't actually subscribe. So make sure you subscribe, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your content or watch your content, and make sure that you never miss a future episode.
Guys, Matt Haycox here, and welcome to another episode of No Bollocks with me, your host, Matt Haycox. And today we've got another guy whose DMs I've been slipping into lately.
No feet pics, please.
I seem to meet all my guys on YouTube or Instagram at the moment. But no, in all seriousness, Dakota Robertson's in the house, literally in the house today. We're not in the studio, we are in the house. And I came across this guy a few weeks ago now. I think your YouTube videos popped up in my feed, and I watched a video you did about AI. I think you were giving out your full prompt on how to write a never-ending stream of content or video ideas or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, I like the content, I like the prompt. You seemed like a nice guy. I found him on Instagram, and here he is today.
Yeah.
We'll talk about, I guess, all things YouTube, AI, marketing, branding. And I have to say, anytime I speak to a guest, I'll always ask them just for 4 or 5 bullet points of something that's important to them to talk about. I tend to run my conversations pretty organically and go with the flow, because obviously business is my space, so I don't need too much steer or prep. But I'll normally get 4 or 5 bullet points back. Never ever have I had a 65-page document. Maybe in the end we can quickly show you some of this document he sent me. I said, just send me a few bits about you. 65 pages of what I think we'll probably talk about it at some point, because it was a phenomenally impressive document, which I can't say I've read all 65 pages, but I blasted through it at speed, and it seems to really be everything to do with you in terms of brand and values and what, I guess, what you need to know to focus your marketing, focus your business, who is your business enemy, who's your ideal customer profile, etc., etc. A serious document anyway. So
yeah,
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I guess just to finish off on who you are, just give us a 1 or 2 minutes about who you are and how you ended up sat here today, and what, where your money comes from and what your life's all about.
Yeah, so I guess my journey with the business space started in 2020, and I was going to school to actually be a high school English and psychology teacher. And before that, I tried all these different side hustles trying to make money online, but nothing ever stuck. And then I was in the crypto space, so I was scrolling Twitter to keep up with the news while I was in college, and I came across someone promoting a course for $40. And they're like, "Oh, grow your Twitter and make money online somehow." I was like, "Oh, it's $40. Like, screw it, I'll give it a shot." Went through it, started my profile on Twitter, and started just typing stuff, like just self-improvement, cheesy stuff, investing, working out, just whatever. And it was an anonymous account. Didn't grow, just absolutely horrible. And yeah, it was a shit show. But what it did was introduce me to the world of money Twitter. So it's like all these young dudes that are posting online, just showing, hey, here's how I'm making money, all this. And it kind of indoctrinated me into that space. So fast forward, I'm posting content, learning more and more about marketing, business, all of that. And eventually start growing my account.
What were you posting content about?
So first it started with self-improvement, broad stuff. And then I realized that wasn't working, it wasn't growing my account. And so I realized I needed to niche down. And so I figured, okay, why don't I learn a skill that's valuable to other people and that I enjoy? And to me, that was writing. And so I would learn from people ahead of me. I would apply what they were learning or teaching, and then I would teach it to people a few steps behind me. So like actionable tips and all that. And then my account started to grow. And then I grew my account and I started learning about this thing called ghostwriting. And so ghostwriting is when you take over someone's social media, you write content for them, and then you post it under their name with the goal of getting them followers or sales. And so I was like, that's interesting. And originally I was going to be a copywriter, but I was like, might as well be a big fish in a small pond with ghostwriting since it was newer. And so I learned how to grow my own social media, offered it as a service, started getting clients within my first month of actually setting it up and doing it. I made $11K a month. Lost some clients after that because I had no idea what I was doing, but kept some, and then eventually scaled to 20K a month, 30K, 50K a month.
What are you typically charging someone to do a ghostwrite?
So it started with 3K a month. And then as I landed more clients, I was like, screw it, I'm going to keep raising the prices because I had such high demand. And so I raised it to 3,500 a month, 4K, 5K, went to a point where I was charging 7K a month. And then I started making up random offers like Alex Ramosi. Like I read his book when it launched, and I charged like a 25K package to get someone to 10K followers. So like different stuff. I was just trying.
And on that one where it went from 3 to 7K, for example, what's someone getting from you? Just like a daily tweet or a long daily thread, or what's the actual package?
Yeah.
Someone hoping to get just Twitter growth, just more followers.
Yeah. So I was in a fortunate position where I was perceived as a high authority because as I grew my social media, you just get more clout, you get more demand for your stuff. But I would get on the sales calls and I would just make up the offer on the fly based off what they told me, what their pain points were, all of that. So it really varied from point to point, but typically it was like we would grow them by a minimum of like 3,000 followers a month. And yeah, just like I just catered it to the person. And so what it included was typically 2 to 3 long form posts a week. So like threads if it was Twitter, and then 3 tweets a day if on days there aren't long form posts. And then I would use probably like 25 to 30% of that budget to get paid retweets. So I'd find accounts that have a quality audience, pay them, and then they would promote the content, and then that would just get more eyeballs.
So I've got a bit of personal experience with this, and I've done some ghostwriting. I've had a bit of ghostwriting done for me on Twitter. So I mean, I don't use it on other platforms, but just because I actually enjoy writing content. I'm not too shabby at it, and because we do so much other content, we can always repurpose and use things as well.
Hey, Matt here, just interrupting myself quickly to say thank you for listening to No Bollocks. But did you also know I've got another podcast, Stripping Off with Matt Haycox? Very different. No Bollocks is the quick daily business tactics that you need. But Stripping Off, we go deep with a CEO, with a celebrity, with an athlete, with just an international inspiring character. We find out what makes them tick. We find out how they got to where they got to, and we find out how you can learn and benefit from them too. So jump on over to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you listen to your content, and I'll see you on a future episode.
But I've never had any love from Twitter. Yeah, I mean, literally, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I post. If I get 2 likes, then it's been a good day. 138 impressions or something. But I worked with someone for a few months on the ghostwriting, and they wrote some of these long form threads, and whatever. This is Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, and these are 15 things that you need to know that he already knows. But a big part of the success of these threads seemed to be the retweeting by other popular people, and the guys I use, they would use some of that budget as well to push them out. I mean, is that essential to it? I mean, if you didn't use budget to get retweets and people pushing engagement, is that really going to hamper the value of the tweets?
Yeah. So the way I think about social media is you have 2 areas. So you have content, and then you have traffic. And so you can have the best content in the world, but if nobody sees it, it's going to struggle to get traction. And so the way I think about traffic is there's different ways to get it. So one is paid retweets or whatever, paid comments, whatever platform you're on. The second is you can comment on other posts a ton. So when you comment on someone else's post, there's a chance that their audience will see your comment. If it's a good one, they'll check out your profile. That one takes a lot of time and effort. So it's not ideal if you want to save time, but it is a way. And then the third way to get traffic is you have an engagement group with your friends. So anyone else is trying to grow. And the fourth, I would just say, is relying on the algorithm. So Twitter is horrible at promoting content if you don't have a following, but something like TikTok's better if you start from zero. They'll promote your stuff. So there's really four main ways to get traffic. And obviously a lot of business owners are busy. They don't want to spend time commenting and doing all this stuff. So it's a lot easier for the ghostwriters just to allocate that budget and just pay for retweets.
And what is a business owner typically hoping to get from it? I mean, when you've got that 3,000 followers a month type growth, how do they then typically monetize it, or is it just a status thing?
So yeah, people want ghostwriting for different reasons. So some people just want the status, and that's totally fine. They already have a bunch of money and they just want more status, totally fine. Or maybe they want some IG baddies in their DMs or traffic, get the organic traffic that way. And then other people, I'd say most people, they want more leads. They want more sales for their offer. And the thing about ghostwriting is, I think a lot of people that hire ghostwriters go in with the wrong expectations. So they think, oh, ghostwriters are just going to generate me leads. But you have to have your foundation set before you can generate those leads. Like if you have a shitty offer, or if you don't have social proof, or you don't have like the essentials built in, well, you're going to get more traffic, sure, but you're not going to convert. And so what I recommend typically is for people to have a ton of social proof. They have their offer converting at a good rate. They have a setter in their DMs. So ghostwriting is like an add-on. It's not a replacement for lead generation.
Do you not think these threads are done to death?
Yes. So those threads you're talking about, like this is Warren Buffett or this is Charlie Munger, or whatever. Here's 5 lessons. That's what I call growth content. So I kind of think
top of funnel.
Yeah, very top of funnel. And the problem is many people, they see, oh, it's getting all this traction, all these followers, all these likes, but you're not really building a brand. You're just building a following. And so I've seen it before where there are accounts that do those threads all the time. And yes, they get a lot of followers. Yes, they get a lot of engagement. But when that account posts anything about their business, when they post anything about themselves, nobody cares. So you got all these threads getting thousands of likes, but when they post that other content, it gets 0 engagement.
Well, I can vouch for that from personal experience in that, so I mean, I didn't do it for too long with these guys, and the growth was up and down in that, I presume it's the same for you, or you can maybe tell the same story, that the old thread would go fucking nuts, like 700 extra followers, 800 followers off one thread. Other threads do nothing, and to look at them, I couldn't really say that thread's better than that, or that's worse than the other. It's just some hit and some don't. But whatever, I'd also post my own content, because I use Twitter. If I have a thought, I'll post it on Twitter, and then I'll reshare it as a tile on Instagram or something. I might even use it as a bit of a notepad, because my social media team back in the UK who work for me, when I post stuff on Twitter, they use that as a kind of a dumping ground of ideas as well. Molly back home will think, oh, what can I write about today? Or I'll jump on Twitter and see what's been on Matt's mind. But nothing I posted got any interaction whatsoever. Or maybe the odd comment, but from people who I knew already knew me, because I recognize those names from my other social channels and stuff. But in terms of just normal third parties or other people who follow me who are super fans across other pieces of platform or something, 0 feedback.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of like a death loop. Like you can get caught in this approach where you're creating all that growth content where it's like, this is XYZ, and sure, you build this big following, but yeah, if you try to post anything else, people don't care. And then the problem is you have this big following, but if you get 0 engagement, that tells the algorithm, hey, no one likes this content, stop showing it to other people. And so unless you post that type of content all the time, your account's just screwed.
So what's the answer?
So I like to think of it as a synergistic approach, like where you got multiple types of content. So yeah, you do some of the growth content, but it's not your main strategy. It's like maybe 20%, 25%. The other types of content, so okay, I'll condense it down. So you got growth content. So that's the trends. That's when you talk about popular figures. That's when you talk about popular events. So stuff like that. So when ChatGPT was trending, you can talk about that. Now, the trick with growth content like that is you want to tie it back to you. So if you're talking about Warren Buffett, don't just say, here's why he's so great. Tie back to you. Like, how did you apply Warren Buffett's philosophies or stuff in your own life and give your take? Because then people are interested in you and not just Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is like the front end and they come for that, but then they see your take on stuff like, oh, this Matt guy's got something interesting to say. So that's like growth content. Then you have authority content. So authority content I think of as the how-tos, the case studies, testimonials, just results. It's just showing that you're competent and it builds your authority on social media. So I think that's a really important pillar that many people skip. And so with authority content, basically I think, how can I make this useful to other people? How can I solve a pain point? Or how can I get people closer to a desired outcome and overall just help people? Because that's what's going to raise my authority. And then there's the personal content. So that's where you're sharing your personal takes, your worldviews, your stories, anything that is unique to you. And so I call that the GAP framework: growth, authority, personal. And
that's what was on the
yes,
on the video.
Exactly. So like bridges the gap from a stranger to someone who knows, likes, and trusts you. So I think about growth as getting people to know you. The authority content is getting people to trust you, and then personal content getting people to like you.
And I mean, we talk about AI, ChatGPT. If someone hasn't got or doesn't want to spend, $4, $5, $6, $7 a month working with a ghostwriter, how easy is it to get ChatGPT to help on this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so the way I think about it is, if I gave you the keys to the most advanced rocket ship ever, and I told you, hey, go fly this to the moon, probably wouldn't know how to do it, right? And the same thing is true for ChatGPT. It's like, yeah, you could have this crazy technology, but if you don't know what makes for good content or what makes for good writing, you're just going to be like a monkey at a keyboard and not know what the hell's going on. And so I think it's more tedious, but understanding what makes for good content and understanding kind of the way to write it, it's going to help you when you go to navigate ChatGPT. So I think the problem is many people are like, oh, use ChatGPT to write good content, but you got to understand what makes for good content in the first place. Otherwise, it's going to be like crashing a rocket ship.
And I guess if prompting is everything with ChatGPT, shit prompt in, shit output out, good prompt in, good output out. But if you do understand writing and you are, good at writing a prompt, how far down that line of a really high quality piece of finished thread style content can you get without still needing that last mile, that physical, that interaction from someone to finish it off?
I think if you have the right prompts, I think you get 60 to 70% there. Yeah. But it's like, it gets you like most of the way there, but then you got to like course correct, right? Like it might have some missing pieces and then you got to prompt it further. So it's not like one and done. It's like you got to kind of get the feedback and work with it. Like it's got the IQ of a potato sometimes.
Well, I kind of feel we've almost put the cart before the horse, going straight in with the Twitter, but it was also very interesting to listen to. Let's take a step back, because I guess ghostwriting, Twitter threads, all this stuff is a part of the overall personal branding picture. Which I guess is how you ended up doing what you're doing, why you and I are talking to each other today. Talk to me about personal brands, the importance of them, and why everybody needs one.
Yeah, so I think about why can Nike charge $100 for a black t-shirt and then Walmart can only charge $10? Walmart sells a commodity, Nike sells brand. And so brand is basically, I just think about it, what are the associated feelings and thoughts someone has toward you? Pretty much it, like what's your reputation? And so if you have brand, then you can charge more money, you can get more lead flow, and overall, you're just going to build this moat. because if someone connects with you emotionally, well, it doesn't matter if someone has a better offer, usually they're going to go with the person they connect with. And so if you can build your personal brand, I don't think everyone should or needs to, but most people that build their personal brand, they're just going to make more money. They're going to get more leads, and they're just going to have an easier time doing everything. And so the way I think about brand is like, I think in frameworks a lot. And so I created this thing called the brand framework. So it's called, the brand framework because it has 5 pieces. So B for bold. So think about the most persuasive or influential personal brands, Trump, Andrew Tate, I can list like a ton of polarizing figures, but the reason why they stand out is because they're bold. Like, love them or hate them, they stand out because they're going against the grain. They're saying what they stand for. And in a world where so many people are kind of politically correct or scared to express their opinions, that's what makes you stand out. And so it's like, picture this. So imagine I have like all these white dots and they're all uniform. But if I have one red dot, like somewhere on that piece, it's going to stand out, right? And your attention is going to go there. Same thing with brand. So I think about B as bold, R is relevant. So humans are selfish, right? So if you post content, like, why would they care? So you got to make it relevant to them. And the way I think about relevancy is, what are the pain points or the desires that your target audience has, and how can you position yourself as someone that can help them solve their pains and help them get their desired outcomes? And so that's why I'm big on teaching people how to do stuff, or just giving useful content that helps people. And so that's relevancy. And then there's the A in the brand framework, and that's, oh God, I'm thinking of it now. Authenticity. Authenticity. Yeah. Sorry. And that's like the personal content. So how can you share your stories, your worldviews, your polarizing takes, stuff like that, and just like get people to connect with you. And then N is for notability. So why can Alex Hormozi say drink water in a tweet and that gets 1,000 likes when Joe Blow tweets the exact same thing and it gets 0 likes? Well, the big difference is the credibility, the notability, or the authority that Alex Hormozi has. And so it's not the message, but it's the messenger behind the message that increases the impact of it. So the more notability or credibility you have, it's like a multiplier effect. And the last part is dedication for D. And so think about McDonald's or Nike or whatever, milk, whoever's got like the got milk phrase. Like, why are they spending hundreds of millions of dollars every single year promoting that same slogan, that same message? Because they know if you're dedicated to consistently posting the same message, it's going to stick in people's head. And so if you can consistently post the bold, relevant, authentic content, it's going to stick in people's head and it's going to build brand. So that's kind of like the way I think about it.
And you said a minute ago that you don't think everyone should have a personal brand. I mean, so when I talk to my team, I always talk to them about personal branding. This is in the context of content creation, saying that I think I say everybody already does have a personal brand. Your brand is what people think of you, before you walk into a room, when you do walk into a room. So I guess the question is it a personal brand that you want to have, or do you need to kind of course correct on that, as to steal your words? And then part 2 of that is how amplified is that brand? And I would argue with my guys that everybody needs to amplify that brand to a degree. It just depends where you want to go as to how much you want the amplification to be. So let's say me as a founder or a CEO or someone who's trying to do big things, I would want as much massive brand reach as humanly possible. Does my accounts clerk or receptionist or junior marketing person need to have a personal brand like me? No. But should they have some kind of presence, some kind of reach? I think they should, because at some point they're going to want another job, or they're going to want to meet a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever it may be. And for me, that's the bit that people miss out on, really. That having that brand just makes introductions easier, interactions softer, and I guess gets you closer to what you want quicker than the people who haven't got that brand.
Yeah, I think if you're an online business or like in the online world, 100%. But I don't think like the farmer Joe down the street, like, oh, you need I mean, it could help that I can sell more stuff, but
in all seriousness, I guess I always say that, having brand, having audience helps you get more of whatever it is you want from life. Farmer Joe down the street, he probably doesn't need to. It's not going to help him sell any more carrots or kill any more cows. But if you are, I don't know, if you want a better table in a restaurant, if you want more girls to give you attention, more guys to come looking for you, whatever, all of those things, go back to brand and amplification of that brand, don't they?
100%. Yeah. And then there's also like the recluses though, too. Like some people just want to be off the radar, undercover, but that's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm biased. I think most people should have a personal brand and
it's when we talk about the recluses as well, because I used to have this debate with a friend of mine back in England quite a few years ago, and he'd always he was saying, oh, I don't know why you do what you do. Why do you want everyone to know your business? Why do you want to be in everyone's face? Nobody knows who I am. I don't want to keep it that way. To which I said, well, that's total bollocks, right? I said, when you say nobody knows who you are, okay, maybe people don't know who you are to a level that you're all over Instagram to a random person. But I believe it's as good as impossible for a very wealthy person, which this guy was, a very wealthy person, to be unknown, because ultimately you're only making money by interacting with third parties. And okay, we can all find the most extremist and extreme examples where there's a trader, some trader who doesn't need to interact with anyone, sits on his computer in his underpants 23 hours a day or whatever. But this guy we're talking about in question, he was a property professional. He buys and sells houses, buys houses, builds them, keeps them, all that kind of stuff. He's very well known, but very well known in his niche, very well known with the people that he needs to be known with. It would have been impossible for him to get that level of wealth, to get that level of success without having these connections. What he just means is, I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to have my picture on the cover of a magazine telling everyone how much money I've got. But he would love it if 50 other property brokers who all had deals in their back pockets knew who he was. He'd fucking love it. Does that make sense?
100%. Well, it's like Grant Cardone, like he gets so many deals because he has built this big reputation, this personal brand. So that's why a big part of why he's crushing it too.
Talk to me about, I guess, other aspects of growing a personal brand in terms of what people need to know and how they should be doing it, and maybe mistakes that people make as well. Obviously we talked about the Twitter side of things, but social media aside, how else does someone curate and supercharge a personal brand?
I think a big lesson for me when I started posting on social media was I tried really hard to go self-improvement guru broad, just because I was like, oh, this is what I'm interested in and all this stuff. But I never considered the person on the other end. It's like, why would they care, right? And the biggest thing I see with people when they're trying to grow their personal brand is like, oh, I'm going to be like the next Tony Robbins. I'm going to be self-improvement, talk about mindset. In reality, no one cares who you are until you make them care. It's like, I'm not going to listen to someone talk about mindset who's just read a bunch of books on mindset. Like, I want to listen about mindset from the people that have built a big ass business or done like really notable things, because you have to have a strong mindset for that. You don't have a strong mindset if you read a bunch of books. And so a big realization for me was I have to post content in order to grow. I have to post content that's interesting to other people. And so for me, it was, okay, what's a skill I can learn that I have interest in and there's market demand for? So for example, I might be interested in Peruvian throat singing and Icelandic tap dancing, but probably not many people on social media care about that. And so sure, I have the interest, but there's no market demand. And then vice versa, I could talk about SEO and there might be a lot of market demand for that. But if I don't have interest in it, I'm going to get bored, or I'm not going to want to keep posting about it, and I'm going to give up. And so the happy medium is finding a skill that has market demand, that solves problems that people want help with, and that you have interest in. And so for me, it was writing. I think writing's cool because you can transfer thoughts to other people and make them take action with your words that you're writing. And a lot of people want to learn it. A lot of people want to hire copywriters, ghostwriters, whoever to write stuff. And it was just like the happy medium. And so that's how I started growing, was I was learning that skill, teaching it to other people, talking about my journey. And another thing that people screw up is they don't live interesting lives. So yeah, they might be posting about, top 10 tips for XYZ, but really at the end of the day, like what separates you from everybody else? And so you need to be doing something interesting, whether that's building a business and talking about, the trials and tribulations, or maybe traveling and just posting photos, whatever, hobbies, anything that just shows there's a person behind the account. It's huge. It's going to separate you from everybody else. Yeah.
Do you, when you were deciding to post about something that you loved, which was writing, or when anybody else listening to this decides that they're going to go down this route, are you deciding also in advance who your audience is? Or are you finding them when they find you? So you go out there, I guess, just to be clear, so I'm sure you understand, but just for anyone listening, I guess what I'm saying is, okay, Dakota, you've decided you're writing about writing. And that you can be consistent with it, and you know a lot about it, and it's your wheelhouse. Now, but then you also then sit down and think, but my ideal customer is going to be a founder of a 8-figure business who's got 12K a month to spend on ghostwriting. I'm going to make sure that the content I write lands and resonates better with him than with anyone else. Or do you just start writing, growing audience, see what comes in the door, and then tweak that bottom of funnel to decide how to monetize it in the end?
Yeah, so when I started out, I was just kind of posting for my past self. I didn't really have a target audience in mind. As I became more developed with my business and I understood my offering and who I actually wanted to work with, yeah, my content definitely got more targeted. Like that document I sent you, that's, I think, the middle.
Pull it up.
Yeah, so the start of it is talking about my brand, and then in the middle of that document, I talk about my target audience, and then in the last section of it, I talk about my offer. And so what I usually recommend to people starting out, like, just write to your past self at the beginning. Just like, don't focus on trying to generate leads. Just focus on like getting in the habit of posting content, building that identity that you're a writer or a creator, and just get in the habit. And then once you become more developed, your offer and all of that stuff, then start posting more targeted content. And that's not to say you only post targeted content for your target audience, although that can definitely work. But I think incorporating it as a piece, not the whole thing. So I like to think of it like a full stack approach, where, yeah, you got the growth content, yeah, you got the authority content, yeah, you got the personal content, and you're like mixing it all together. But yeah, when I'm trying to make more sales, I think about what are the pain points my target audience has, and what are the mindsets, what are the limiting beliefs that they have, what are their desired outcomes, what are their values, and then I start incorporating that into my content, and that attracts those types of people. So yeah, it's like not really like one or the other. I think it's like, how do you bake it in? And that kind of sets you up well.
So this document, now I'm looking at it, is that did you make that, did you sit down at the beginning of your journey and think, well, these are all the answers to the questions that I need to kind of give myself so I know what I'm doing? Or does this develop over time? And does everybody need a document like this? Yeah,
so that is called a creative brief. And shout out to my friend, Nicholas Verge, who introduced me to the concept. I made that like just kind of from scratch, just thinking about all of my frameworks over the years. That I created like a few months ago, but I started getting into making creative briefs for each offer I have like last year. And so for anyone listening, my creative brief has 3 sections. So the top one's just it prompts or like things about me, my brand. The middle is my target audience, so their pain points, desires, self-limiting beliefs, all that stuff. And the last part is my offer. So features, benefits, objections, handling the objections, all that stuff, all organized. And so what I do when I have a new offer, I hop on like 15 to 30 market research calls with my target audience. And I'll ask them the same set of questions, similar sets of questions, and I will I'll record those calls, and then I'll transcribe it with the software. And so it's all written out. Once I do all my market research calls, I will plug that into ChatGPT or whatever AI, and I'll say, hey, I'm trying to create a creative brief that has all the information on my target audience. Can you please summarize the main patterns, pain points, all whatever? And so it'll organize all the data points, and basically I'll plug that into my creative brief and organize it all. Maybe I'll go in, make a few tweaks. But with that document I have there, I can download that document, upload it to ChatGPT or whatever AI. Hey, this is a creative brief on my brand, my target audience, my offer. I want you to create me lead generation content that persuades them to buy my offer, or blah, blah, blah.
And how good is that content at that point?
Oh, it's so much better.
When we were talking earlier about the threads, you were saying you could maybe get to 60% at 60%. If you do a good prompt. I mean, this must be I say killer prompt. It's not the prompt, is it? I mean, this is the brain before the prompt.
Yeah.
I mean, this is good at everything it needs. But how much interaction do you have to, or iteration of the content do you need to do?
That thing will really refine the content. It depends on what I'm trying to do, but really, like, that gets a 80. It can get at 80% there.
Really?
So like it'll have all the information it needs. And if I just prompt it right and I give it the right prompt to match my tonality, it can sometimes write the email just like perfect on its own. But I would say like conservatively it gets it like 80% there. And so, I put in 20 hours to build that document, or 30 maybe. But now it's like upload it, boom, way more targeted content, and it's just so much easier to market.
How else do you use this? As in, presumably not just for ChatGPT. I mean, if you were sitting down, like for example, you sent it to me. I mean, if you're onboarding a new partner, working with somebody else. I mean, is it if you've had an idea about something, do you sit back and refer to this?
Oh yeah. So like yesterday, I joined a coaching program, and they're asking for documents and like information on my target audience, all that. I was like, oh yeah, cool, here you go. This is all done. And it just makes it so much easier for them to work with me, because I know my audience on a high level, and now they do, and they can deliver a better result for me. So yeah, it worked out.
Let's take a change of direction, change of pace, and talk to me about freedom and travel. I know travel's a passion of yours, and I guess I'm guessing that my definition of the way of what your work is and your transient travelly status, freedom is an important core value.
100%. I'd say that's my top value.
And how have you achieved and featured that into your life? Because I mean, again, it's something I passionately believe over the last couple of years, and I've admitted accidentally in the early years. I think, having always been interested in business, always been, interested in really the money and the material things. And then, you wake up 10 or 15 years later, I've got all these material things, but they've actually, not only have they not solved my problems, they've caused me even more problems, because, these are either material things that need taking care of, or material things that then need an engine filling or cost more money, or just don't solve the problem that we set out to solve. And you might, from the writing space, Jay Yang.
Oh yeah, the young guy.
The little young guy, yeah. I tell you, I've never met him, but we've done some Zoom calls, and he's put a couple of his clients on my podcast and stuff. But I always remember a newsletter of his, which was entitled something like "Be careful what you optimize for." And it really resonated, because he talked very much about the fact that be careful what you optimize for, because when you get it, you might not be happy with what you've got. And it kind of hit me at a time where I realised I'd optimized for all the wrong things, and I had houses around the world, or a boat, or businesses, or whatever it was. And I thought, but whilst my life looks amazing to the outside world, it's a fucking misery to me, because I can't go 20 minutes without looking at a telephone, or a day without having access to my, like I climbed Kilimanjaro 3 or 4 years ago. I always describe it as both the best and worst experience at the same time. But people were saying to me before I went there, what are you going to be like without your red wine, or what are you going to be like without having a toilet and stuff up there? And all I used to say to everyone was, I don't even fuck about any of that. I'm worried about the phone signal. What's the phone signal going to be like at the top of Chile? And literally on this climb up there, as tough as it was, I'm thinking, right, when are we going to get to, when am I going to sit down so I can pull the sat phone out? Because, I need to call the office about this, or I need to keep that wheel turning, or that, sort that problem out. And, obviously this is long before I read Jay's letter or heard about this optimization concept. But I think, what do I really want to do? Want to hang out with the kids? I want to play paddle tennis all day. I want to chase some birds, or whatever it may be. That's girls in English, not
No, yeah. Not a bird watcher.
not pigeon. And okay, yes, and all of that costs some money, and because you need that money for the freedom. But all the millions that I may have earned and bought all these things, like what the fuck have I done it for? And in a bizarre way, if the more money you make, if you're making it in the wrong way, I don't mean illegally, I just mean if you're making it in the wrong way, you push yourself further and further and further away from that freedom, don't you?
100%, man. I
kind of asked you a question and answered it for you. That's,
yeah.
Your take on it?
Like I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in high school, so I kind of followed my brother's footsteps. So it was like, okay, I'll just become an electrician. I'll work on the oil and gas industry, and I'll just make money, stack cash while I figure things out. And so I'd work 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day in the freezing cold on these oil and gas rigs. And sometimes I get to like -30, -40. And I absolutely hated it. Like I was just working. Sure, I was like making money, decent money, nothing crazy. But I was just like, I don't know how people do this their whole lives. Just surrounded by miserable people, doing miserable work, and you just lack freedom. Like someone else controls when you wake up, like what time you go to bed, what you work on. And I just hated it. And so working that job really, it just like drove me crazy. And it actually drove me to journaling when I was 18. I was like, I need like some outlet, because I'm isolated from my family and friends. I'm like 12-hour drive away from my actual home working in these camps. And I just felt this total lack of freedom. So I was listening to a podcast one day, I think it was Jordan Harbinger, but he's talking about his trip to Vietnam and how amazing it was. So I was like, screw it. I'm 19, 18 at the time. I was like, I'm going to book a flight to Asia, Southeast Asia, and just backpack around. So I went to Thailand and Vietnam for 1 month each. Did that with my buddy, Nathan. And then I solo backpacked Cambodia. And I wasn't working the entire time. I never found an online business at the time. But I remember just feeling this total sense of freedom. And just stepping off that plane, like I'm on the other side of the world right now, and I just chose to just do this. Like that's crazy. So like 18-year-old is just a weird concept for you. And the amount of experiences I had on that trip were like crazy, like stuff out of a movie, just the craziest stuff. And I just made some of the best memories during that trip. And I remember getting to the end of it, I was like, wow. I love this. I love being in control of my life and not having to answer to somebody else. And, I get to do what I want because I want to do it. And it really built that desire for me to build my life, find a way to build my life in a way where if I want to go on a trip, I can, or if I want to work, I can. And so over the coming years after that trip, I just kind of got heavy into how do I make money, and tried all these different side hustles. But eventually figured it out. And I think a big reason why a lot of people are depressed or angry or miserable is because they just have no sense of freedom in their life, and not just financially, but also like mentally or purposefully. Like they're just chained to these shitty jobs and shitty people. And so I think if more people had access to financial, mental, whatever freedom, it's like the world would be a happier place, and probably wouldn't be as many fights or as much misery. And so that's why, like, what I do, I find very purposeful. I also make good money doing it. I'm not going to pretend I'm a fucking saint, but like helping other people quit their job or drop out of college to do something they actually want is really, really rewarding. And it's cool. I'm very grateful. I'm in the position where I can help people do it because I know what it's like to feel that pain and not like your life, and to actually take a chance on yourself and make that change is so cool. I'm very grateful.
But I guess there's got to be a limit to the number of people that can quit their work and become a ghostwriter. And we're going to get 4 billion people living with a bat.
Yeah, sure up.
Writing Twitter threads.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's so many fucking Twitter threads.
Yeah, sorry, I've contributed to that. But yeah, I mean, like, and I think not everyone should quit their job, because there's some people that they like their 9 to 5. They're chill with it. And it's like, yeah, totally. You don't have to be an entrepreneur and like take on this stuff. But I think there are certain types of people like you and I that probably don't like that at all. We like having our own personal freedom. And yeah, those are the people I want to work with.
I think, like you say, the key for people is to know what it is that you want and why you're key driver. Because we talk about, quit your job, work for yourself, do this, but that suits people like us. Other people who like, for example, security. Is whether or not they love the 9 to 5, but what they'll love is the fact that on the 28th of the month that check comes in all the time. To them, that is more important than effective. The freedom. Now we'll say, well, you've got more risk than we've got because you're relying on someone else to pay your wages at the end of the month, where we're in control of making our own. Again, that's our entrepreneurial spin on things. But I think the key is really whatever it is you're doing, to just decide whether or not what you're doing is something that makes you happy, and if it isn't, what is it you can do instead? Because whilst we shouldn't all be ghostwriters and whilst we shouldn't all be 9 to 5 workers, I think it is a lot easier for everyone than they think, whatever job they're doing, whatever walk of life they're in, to leave the thing they're unhappy with and move to something that they could be more happy in. If that is a 9 to 5, then go and find a different 9 to 5 where your boss is better or your colleagues better. If you don't like your girlfriend or your boyfriend, there's another one around the corner. But in so many aspects of life, most people, I'm going to say too many, but I'll go as far as to say most people sit in boxes that they don't want to be in and just let it go and go and go and go.
Yeah, like that's a big thing I notice with people that try the online business stuff but don't succeed is they're in enough, like they're comfortable enough where, they're kind of in that sweet spot where, yeah, they kind of want to get out of it, but they're not motivated enough because they're not in enough pain. And it's the people that are kind of pushed up against a wall and they just fucking hate their life and they want to make a change. Those are the people who succeed because they just got that drive, that ambition. But the people that are like, yeah, I guess my life's all right, kind of like mediocre, they don't have that drive where they want to, pursue something more than themselves or more than they think is possible. It's because they're just like, yeah, it's all right. And so they're out.
Well, change only comes with that pain point, doesn't it? Yeah. I think this is been in my mind a lot over the last week or so, because I'd done a talk the other week at a group of financial advisors, and before I spoke, their CEO was speaking about goal setting, and then I ended up jumping in a little bit to talk about kind of my views on goal setting, because you've got the people going around the room to I'm gonna be a better father, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to make more money. And I'm going to look at them and saying to them, you're not. You're not going to lose any more fucking weight. You've wanted to lose weight for the last 25 fucking years. You're not going to lose any weight because you don't care enough. And that's not me saying you should get I don't give a fuck whether you care or don't care. But unless you decide that being fat is detrimental to your life, is stopping you get the things that you want more than being fat, then you'll continue to be fat. I sit with a lot of the guys who work for me, and they're not doing something, but they say, I want to earn more money. I said, well, you don't want to earn more money, because if you did want to earn more money, the fucking blueprint to earn more money is there. You just decide that you're clearly happy with the money you've got. Yes, we can all say, I'd like to drive a Ferrari. Yes, I'd like to go on more holidays. But you're obviously not that fucking bothered. Otherwise, you actually do something about it. And whatever it is, whether it's quitting the job, leave the boyfriend, lose the weight, unless you have that pain point where the price is worth paying to get rid of that pain, you're never ever going to make any change.
100%, man. Like, even like not even making an option in the first place has been a huge thing for me. So like I've struggled with phone addiction a lot because I'm on social media. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing research, just scrolling away. But one thing that really has helped me is not making shit an option in the first place. Then you don't have to fight willpower. So I got like
what is it? Discipline beats motivation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, like I use a app blocker where I can't even access any of the distracting apps on my phone unless I have like this NFC that I tap, this chip. But I like throw that somewhere else. Like I don't know where it is. And then, yeah, it just works. It's great.
Well, I mean, I'm the same with chocolate. If there's chocolate in the fridge, I cannot stop myself eating the chocolates.
Yeah.
If it's not in the fridge, I'm not going to go looking for it. Like I couldn't give a fuck. But and I guess that's what's the word? I guess having the self-awareness. Because we all say, I'm motivated. I'm going to do it. I know I'm not. If the chocolate's there in front of me, I'm going to fucking eat it. So let's not get it there in the first place. So what does a typical day or a week or a month in the life of Dakota look like? I mean, how do you work? Even though you work for yourself, there's still got to be rules, even though your own rules of how you work to earn the money that you earn. I mean, like, you charge a client $7,000, for example. You can't go, I work for myself, so fuck you. I'll deliver this content whenever I fancy.
Yeah, like over the years it's changed, but like past 2 years it's been very consistent. So I'll wake up either sometimes if I'm like disciplined, wake up at like 5:30, but usually I wake up at like 6 or 7, start my day. So I'll try to incorporate habits at the start of the day because at the end I just kind of forget or just don't care enough. So like try to meditate for 10 minutes. I'll read a few pages, or if I get into it, I'll read for like 10, 20, 30 minutes. And those are kind of like the start of the day things. And then I'll get my deep work session in. So I work a lot. Like I'm sick in the head. I enjoy it, and there's always like stuff to do. So I usually work from maybe 8 till sometimes 5, sometimes 7.
Doing deep work.
Yeah, I mean, like usually it's a lot less deep after 3 o'clock. Because like that's when I don't know, my brain's just like, okay, I've been going for a while, but I'll just keep working. But yeah, like my most important tasks and my most important work, a start of the day, like non-negotiable, just do it because I'm more creative that time at the start. No calls till after 12, and usually I save my calls for all on Thursday, and I just protect my creative zone. No one can message me. I don't look at messages, all that, and just no distractions. Work on the most highest priority needle moving task, 1 to 3, just work on it. And then, later in the day, I can do the more admin basic stuff, but works my whole life. I just enjoy it. It's like creative for me. It's fulfilling, makes me money. And so I work a lot, and then working out as well. I've been a lot less consistent this past year just because I've been just focused on business a lot. But now I'm starting to like get the habit a lot. I'll usually go like 5 to 7 days a week when I'm like going consistently. But now it's been like maybe 1 or 2 times a week. And but once I get a base set up, I'm pretty consistent.
So how can someone come and work with you? How can they find you? How can they work with you? How can my audience come and put some dollars in, some Canadian dollars in your Canadian pocket?
Yeah, I mean, I'm most active on Twitter, so at Wrongs to Write, WRONGS.
I haven't got you on Twitter. That chance to find you on.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite one. I just find that people are more authentic on there. But if you type in Dakota Robertson on pretty much any platform except TikTok and OnlyFans, you'll find me. Yeah.
But what can they do with you? What other than ghostwriting? What's your offering? What's your product?
So if you're a business owner and you want a ghostwriter to work with, I place ghostwriters with business owners. So I find the best suited one, I'll place them in. And then also if you want to become a ghostwriter or get coaching with social media, I can help people with that too. And then I also do ghostwriting for people I find interesting. Very picky with that, and it depends on capacity I have because it is such a time suck. But those are the 3 ways.
Cool. And so when you place people with ghostwriters, I mean, are all these ghostwriters made equally? As in, so if I came to you and said, listen, I want fucking best of the best, budget is no issue, get me the J.R.R. Tolkien of Twitter threads, or Joe comes along and says, I'm fucking broke. Yeah. Have you got some cheap guy? I'll take some shitty threads. You've got.
100%. So it's like I make the people fill out a questionnaire, and so based on what niche they're in, what the result they want, followers, leads, whatever, subscribers, what platform, and what their budget is. Like I can just calculate it off that, like off my head, and then I'll like find the people that would best suited. I can link them with the one I think is best suited, or I can get multiple people. So right now I'm doing it manually, but I've got a site that's being built called ghostwrite.com, where it's going to be a job posting board where you can just, the business owner, fill out a survey, post a job, and then it will show to relevant ghostwriters, and then So.
I mean, how big is that market?
Dude, I get so many DMs of people asking me to link them with ghostwriters. And that's where I was like, okay, I got to like build a site for this, because I can't just keep like manually doing this. I know there's like huge potential here. And it's such a good moat for me, because I have the coaching, but if I can say, hey, like I can place you in businesses. It's such a good offer, and no one can really compete with that if I like take that market share. So it's like, it's a niche thing, but it's growing demand because the creator economy is just growing. The ghostwriting market is just growing, but there's this gap where no one knows how to like find good ghostwriters, and ghostwriters can suck with getting clients.
But I don't know if I say this because I can see it or not, but do you not think when the market's grown to a certain point, it's going to need to deviate off in another way as well? And I guess what I mean by that, I'm saying, because I can see, I look at LinkedIn now, for example. I'm supposed to be the same on Twitter. And now so many people have content. Now, okay, I can look at it and think, oh, well, that's done with AI, and that's done with ghostwriting, because either I can tell it's AI, or I know that guy personally, and there's no fucking way he's written that thread. But, like, go back a year or two, or whatever the time period was, that quality content was that real point of difference. But I say almost getting the point, okay, it's not there yet, but it's moving closer to a point where quality content is no longer a differentiator, because so many people have got that, so many through ghostwriters have got access to that quality content.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? The quality of so if a ghostwriter works with somebody, well, one, ghostwriter is definitely not made equal. There's a lot of shitty, like majority are shitty ghostwriters. That's a big problem. But also, like, the stories of these founders or business people are all different. So they're going to appeal to different people. So, like, people that are into Trump are going to prefer his kind of style, but, people into Kamala Harris are going to prefer a different style. Those are kind of like good, big wild examples, but same true with like business, right?
No, 100%. But I guess what I'm saying is, let's say before, when there was Trump and Kamala, for argument's sake, yes, they're very different and very polarizing, and they'll build their audiences, but there weren't many Trumps and Kamalas. Mm-hmm. Because of the ghostwriters out there, and the growing number of ghostwriters, and the growing number of people prepared to make those, pay the ghostwriters. I guess almost look at it another way. Celebrity. You're a young buck, but I'm old enough to remember what a real celebrity was. Right? In my days of a Michael Jackson or a Tom Cruise, but then they were celebrities. They were people like when Planet Hollywood, when Sylvester Stallone used to go to Planet Hollywood, every newspaper would talk about it for weeks in advance, and people would be queuing around the block to make it happen. Now, everyone who gets the tits out has got 2 million followers on Instagram. It just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
yes, it's still a slight talking point, but it's not. And 2 years ago, there was a few people with great content online, like Hormozy, for example. Many people now could go and hire a ghostwriter to make them look like a Hormozy. Yeah. I go, okay, they're not going to have the full package. Hormozy's doing the tweeting, he's doing the Instagram, he's doing the videos, he's doing everything else. But it's commoditizing to a degree that I think, you know, people then need to go and find the next point of difference and the next point of difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like it's always like changing, like the tides, like what's relevant now might not be as relevant later. And it's like keeping up with the trends and keeping up with the latest stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to come to a point where if you don't have your personal brand, you're not going to be as relevant. And so maybe it's not like such a competitive edge, but it is going to be like the bare minimum necessity. But also, it's not just accessing more people or becoming like the most famous. It's also like nurturing. And so I like to think of your social media as your new resume. So if you like do outreach to someone in the DMs or that you have an ad, most of the time, I'd say like 99% of the time, people are going to check who you are before responding. They're going to look at your social media. They'll look at your content. And so maybe it's not about like growing to the biggest amount or standing out, but it is a way to nurture and just to show, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and then continue the conversation further.
Absolutely. I mean, I was having this conversation, last week, I think it was, with a group of my financial advisors, and we were talking about, what's the best platform, for example, for them to be working on. And I was talking about how their ICP's going to be better found on LinkedIn if they've only got so many hours in the day to concentrate. But my view for Insta was they should still have an open and at least semi-active, if not active, Instagram profile. Do I think it's going to go and actively find them in the clients? No, but I think when they meet a client or when a client finds them on LinkedIn, you just naturally go and jump across onto Instagram, and you want to know, what's that person do? Oh, she goes to the gym, or he's a family guy, he's got his kids, or whatever. Not saying you need to have, a carefully thought out, curated Instagram profile, but people want to know who's the person behind the voice, the computer, the brand, or whatever it may be. And I guess the more public and transparent you can be, the quicker you're going to get to that know, like, and trust factor.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head, 100%.
Well, listen, Dakota, it's been a pleasure to have you here, buddy. And again, for anyone listening to this who thinks if I outreach to somebody, I'm not going to get a response. Maybe you're not, but case in point today, he's only here because I found his videos and slid into his DMs on Instagram. So might be an old school strategy, but keep it up. But listen, buddy, it's been a pleasure to listen to you. Love the technical advice, love the story that goes with it. We'll make sure we get some good links and stuff on the show notes. And I hope next time you're traveling around to that nomadic, freedom-seeking life you're living, we land in another country and do it two together.
Yeah, well, appreciate you, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Hell yeah.